We're going to go ahead and dive in on growing your volunteer engagement career, why professional development and networking are vital.
Excellent, excellent. I am so excited. Court, thank you again for inviting me back. I am thrilled and love this opportunity to come and spend time with the Get Connected family. Um, Thank you all to everybody who showed up today. Listen, I know the title isn't sexy. I know it's not like recruitment and, we get like tons and tons of people, but it is necessary. And so I applaud you for showing up today just to at least even discover and learn a little bit. And like Court said, regardless of, you just started your job yesterday and you're like, what is this about? Or you've been here for a while, because growth is something that is continuous and happens. And so today we're going to talk about knowledge gaps that might be holding you back and keeping you from moving forward to the next step in your career, that you want to be. And then we're going to talk about building a realistic, personalized plan to ensure that your career growth is consistent. Um, and then reframing common barriers like I don't have time, so that you can invest in yourself, because not only investing in yourself for your growth, but as we invest individually, we grow as a profession and as a field and get that credibility across the board. So I'm excited to talk to you all today. So, hopefully, by the end, you will have grown in your confidence. You've been understanding how to expand your impact and chart a future in volunteer engagement that feels both achievable and exciting. And those are the two key things, like making sure that they happen together, because it's a lot more fun to go for things when you're having fun. Not to say that things aren't going to be difficult, but at the end, if you can see, the end of the road coming, you see the finish line, it definitely helps. And how intentional growth, no matter how current your role, can unlock opportunities for you and elevate the entire profession. So we can skip over that because that's me. You've already heard enough about that.
Yeah, and I know that you're definitely going to be speaking to a lot of these pieces of your robust career, like as you go through this. So I'm excited to and definitely encourage everyone to dive into learning more about Nicole's work.
So I just want to start off with this thing that I heard somebody say, and I've loved it and have use it every time that I can. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. So today we're getting a lot of knowledge, and a lot of people, as you're learning more things today, and the body of knowledge that you already have, taking that and hopefully by the end of today, turning it into and connecting it to wisdom on how and when to know how to use it and connect it and integrate it and all of those things. So just a little fun way to start off. Not only having the knowledge, but what you do with it is key. Yes. Okay. So as I was preparing for this, I realized this is something that I don't think I've ever done. And so I can't talk about advancing your profession and talking about, okay, yes, I'm executive director of the Association of Leaders in Volunteer Engagement. But I didn't just get here. And I wanted to talk to people about the progression of how I got here, because I am sitting here because of my professional development and my networking in every aspect. So I'm going to take a little bit of time and share this. Um, so after I graduated from college, I had a couple of jobs here and there, but the job that was like my favorite and the one that I really stuck with outside of college was I started at a radio station called Kiss Country 99.9. And listen, till this day, you can't tell me nothing about country music, can't tell me nothing. I'm a ride or die country music fan. Okay. So I was there for a couple of years, and then I decided to move back home for a little bit for various reasons. And my brother had a production company, and he was putting on like he had some people had hired his dancers to do something, and I went to go help. And while I was there, I met the videographer. Well, the videographer, that was his side gig. He actually worked for Clear Channel, which is actually called iHeart Radio, iHeart now. Um, And I was like, oh man, I've been wanting to get back into radio on the business side, by the way, the promotion side, business side, not in front, not in front of the mic. Um, and he was like, "Oh, okay, well, just, come in for the interview and let's do this." Now, he and my brother had a good relationship prior. This is the first and only time in my entire life that I was an hour late for an interview. I don't know what happened. Listen, I'm giving my age. This was before GPS and even before MapQuest. So I don't know what happened, but I got lost and I was mortified because I showed up an hour late. And because he was like, oh, well, you're his sister and you worked in radio. It's fine. Just come on. So, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is definitely like your network and all that, but a lot of it also is divine connections, because there was no reason why he should an hour late for an interview. Come on. Anyway, and I didn't have a cell phone, so I wasn't calling ahead. But anyway, I will no longer reveal my age. Okay, so anyway, so I'm there. I'm at the radio station. Well, and then what happens? I end up moving to Chicago. I moved to Chicago and I was there for about a year and I could not find a job. I was like hunting, 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 couldn't find a job. And my friend who worked for she didn't work for the same radio station that I did in when I was in Houston, but she worked for a sister station. And she was like, "Hey, they're promoting me. They're opening a Spanish station in Chicago, and I'm going to be the new promotions director. Are you still looking for a job?" And I was like, "Yes." She was like, "Well, would you like to come work for me?" I was like, "Yes." So I went in, did the interview, blah, 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 blah. And again, relationship, because I speak Spanish. I'm not fluent, but I'm not completely fluent, but I know enough to get along and get around, and my family is Hispanic, and so I'm very familiar. And there were many other candidates who were fluent Spanish speakers. But because of relationship, and she knew what my work ethic was when I was in Houston, she chose me over other fluent speaking people. So that's another one. Bam. So now I'm in Chicago, and again, life happens. I'm like, well, I need to move back down to Florida. And I go to my boss at the time, which is my boss's boss, second person up. And I say, "Hey, I'm just letting you know I have to move down to Florida. I'm so sorry. I'm putting in my notice." And he was like, "Well, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because we're going to have to start letting people go anyway. So you've just made my job a little bit easier, because it was going to be difficult." And I was like, "Well, do you know anybody in you like does our conglomerate, do we have like jobs down in South Florida?" Long story short, he makes a phone call to one of the managers in the radio station down in Florida and says, "Hey, we have a really great worker here. And she's moving down. Do y'all have any open space?" And he was like, "Oh, well, yeah, since you recommended her, bring her on." That one I didn't even have to interview for. I'm telling you, man, like this stuff just doesn't happen. I'm like, just when I go back and I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like when I just see how all of these things lined up. So anyway, so now I'm working in radio in Florida. It wasn't really what I wanted, because it was a different aspect of the radio station. So, but the great thing is I made connections with a lot of people in radio. And what happened was there was a marketing position that came about at a performing arts center. And they one of the girls came to me. She's like, "Hey, one of our clients, Performing Arts Center, they're looking for a marketing position. So would you be interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely, yes." So I applied for it. So this is also that building those relationships and knowing and getting understanding your coworkers, and letting them know if you are looking, what are you looking for? Don't be afraid to share those things. Obviously, you can't tell everybody everything, but somebody you could tell something. And so I applied for this job, went through the interview process, got the job. So this is starting my nonprofit journey. So I'm in there for about a year, and this is where like I almost get a little emotional, because volunteer management position became available, and I was like, "Oh, I could do that." I had worked with interns before, but I had no idea like the amazing industry and profession volunteer engagement was. I was just like, oh, okay, I'm organized. I could do it. I applied, had to go through a rigorous interview, whatever. I get the job. About 3 months in, I was like, what did I sign up for? Like, what did I do? Like, this was not what I was expecting. But it was scary but exciting all at the same time because all of the things that I was really good at in many different ways, I was able to operate in so many different things that I was talented in, whereas in every other position, I could only operate in one thing. Being in volunteer engagement allowed me to connect with people and operate in the talents and the various talents that I had, which I loved. So, um, I'm at the Adrian Art Center. This is where I got my chops, like my introduction to volunteer engagement. And this is why I am so passionate about talking about volunteer engagement and reminding people that you are not alone in this because the first 5 years that I was there, I thought I was alone. I was creating things from scratch. I was knocking my head up against walls, like building all of these things. And it wasn't until maybe like year six that I discovered Alive. And I was like, ah, all of this was here all of this time. And people, when I say, volunteer recruitment, people know what I'm talking about, especially at networking events. And they're not like, oh, and they're like, oh, you're a volunteer manager. You work for free. No, it was the first time that I was like, I'm a volunteer manager, and people instantly knew what I was talking about. That connection was mind blowing. And it's why I'm so passionate about it. But it's not only, again, like I said, it's not only just the learning and finding about those connections, but how it worked through. So I was there for a while, and then I left and I went to back on my feet. That also was a divine connection because it was I didn't know anybody there. That was the one time I didn't know anybody, and it was just like, woof, we're gonna have to rely on my merit. And you know how sometimes it is. You're like, you're applying for jobs and you're getting like a gazillion rejections, and it's like, oh, my merit alone. Um, so I went through that interview process. I was there. I was there for a couple of years, and then the position was eliminated. This is also why I'm so passionate about the network. While I was looking for a job, my network kept me encouraged. They kept looking out for me. And in terms of all the jobs that I was looking for, people kept sending me things like, hey, have you seen this? Have you looked for this? I sent your resume here. I sent your resume here. Da, da, da. People would just call it, check in on me. Those are the things, that's what your network does for you. It's not only how the when it's like sunshine and rainbows, right? But also those days when you just need to have somebody give you that encouragement. We are here for you. We see you. We're here for you. Like whatever those things, how can I? And let me tell you, it was my network that is grandly responsible for me being here. I can't say 100%, but I would say 85% of me being here because I think I ended up applying for this a position maybe with 1 week left in the application cycle. I didn't want it. I didn't want it. I was like, it's not something that I think I would be good at. Nope, nope, nope. Literally, after the sixth person within a matter of 3 weeks, independently of each other, was like, Nicole, you should apply. You should apply. I kind of just got tired of people saying, apply for it. So I was like, well, I'm just going to do it so that I could tell people that I did it and they'll just leave me alone. Great. Um, about a week after I applied, when I rescinded my application. The then manager, you all know Gretchen, I was meeting with her because I was preparing for the hybrid conference, so I was meeting with her about something else. And I was like, you know what, I think, can you just like take it out of the pile? And my network, I loved it because she didn't like freak out. She didn't like, what are you talking about? She was just like, tell me why. And I shared with her why. I was like, there's aspects of that job that I absolutely cannot do, that I am not qualified. Some of it I've never done before. She was like, Don't worry about it. Just leave it. If anything, let them tell you no. I go to the interview, and I don't know if this is like a good thing or a bad thing, but when I went in for the interview, I think there were 7 people on the call. And because of the networking that I had done from the 6 or 7 years past, I knew intimately, like in my phone, 6 out of the 7 people. First of all, there's 7 people on an interview. You're like, oh my God, you're freaking out. And I didn't know who it was going to be. I popped on. And so it was weird because it was like, oh, hey, hey, hey. But then I had to remember these are not my friends right now. This is a job interview. But what I had going for me is each of them had worked with me in a different capacity in some way outside of this moment. So my character and my work ethic was speaking before me before I ever showed up in the room. So as you think about what your professional development is looking like and the people that you're networking and how you're working together, it is uh, like a crochet, like a weaving together, and you never know what is going to happen, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. And that is why, and listen, and I say all of this, it's so important because people don't believe me, but that's fine. You can ask my husband, he will tell you. I am a severe introvert. If I am in a group of people, you will not know that I exist. I will be in the corner. I have taken books to parties and like to the point where my husband is like, you have to leave the book. You cannot be reading when we go inside. Like I will give me a book in a corner and I'm good. And he'll like that's just if I have to talk to people for work because it's something that I'm passionate about, cool. But outside of this, people don't know that I exist because it's just not my comfort zone. It's not where I want to be. But I understood the power of networking. So I had to learn to step out of my comfort zone. And I actually got a mentor to learn how to network with others and how to get over that fear of it. So I know this was a little drawn out, but I thought it was just so important for you to understand where I'm coming from. So all of this stuff that I'm talking about, I'm just not like pulling it out of my, pulling it out of my hair. Um, it's stuff that I have learned over the last, I don't know, however many years I've been in this field. And all I want to do is share and give back because sharing is caring. Um, but understand, right, to how, because if we're gonna elevate and be able to be have influence and credibility as leaders of volunteer engagement, like we have to band together to make that happen. It's not just us, it's how we work together and how we're networking. Because when what did they say? A rising tide lifts all boats. That's where we are. Okay, next. Okay, so let's talk about identifying your knowledge gaps. Next slide. So, okay, it's easy to talk about identify your knowledge gaps. So, well, how do you know what you don't know? Like, how am I supposed to figure out and identify what I don't know? That's a really great question. I love this example on here because it was like I was today years old when I realized that the numbers on the toaster are for minutes and not levels of toastiness, which I always thought it was. And I was like, oh, right. So, how do you know what you don't know until you are exposed to it? So, let's talk about that. Yes. Next. Okay. So, some really great ways to figure that out, especially in our profession, is look at different assessment tools. CVA has an amazing assessment tool, and it just tests, it just asks you, as a volunteer engagement leader, are you aware of these things? So, take a look and go through. I did that by the way, I just renewed my CVA. You heard it here first. I am so excited about that. But like, I love this assessment tool because the first time I was going through it, I was like, oh, I didn't even know that I was supposed to know that as a leader of volunteers. Alive has individual standards for volunteer engagement. So if you are in this, it's very similar to the CVA. There's standards that you can go through and be like, huh, did I know that? Or I can learn and maybe this is where it can help me to identify where I need to fill the gaps in. And organizationally, We have this thing, it's called Service Enterprise. You can do a self-diagnostic of the organization to learn where you might have learning opportunities. So a very valid question, how do you know what you don't know? In this profession, start with these. This is a really, really good place because even if you know all of it, at what level do you know it? It's a really, really great place to start because then that can help you identify, well, what professional development trainings am I going to go to this year? Because this is a skill that I want to learn or I want to sharpen. You can, and we'll talk about that, I guess, again, a little ahead of myself. So I think it's on the next slide. Yeah, so helping you to develop that personal growth plan. Okay, I've identified where either I'm missing or things where I want to excel in. Now I can start looking for those different opportunities. Are there professional development opportunities? Are there places where I can go and volunteer? We were just talking about that earlier, where I was doing a new volunteer orientation, and I was like, hey, if you hate budgeting, volunteer on the finance team, because it is a really great place to learn and a safe place about budgeting and money and how it works. And I know just in general, this is generally speaking, most volunteer engagement professionals don't like talking about the money, right? Like, I know I don't. I'm like, oh, I want to be over here and do with the people stuff and all that kind of stuff. But it's that aspect, being able to speak intelligently to it, that gives us credibility. Because everybody else who's leading a department, if they're leading the marketing department and this department, when they go to talk to their boss, they have to talk about budgets and all of those things. And if you're not used to doing that, if you're standing in the room with them, how do you prove yourself credible when you're standing against, the earth people who are there? So it's great learning opportunity, safe place. I just use that as an example, but that could be for anything, whatever your marketing skills are, if it's advocacy, if it's organization, whatever it is on your plan, you can start like maybe I will volunteer here, or maybe I will attend those professional development opportunities there. Maybe I will look for people who have the skill and connect with them on LinkedIn and have like 30-minute conversations, just information session, whatever it is. But now it's not just like, I'm going to go to every single professional development webinar that comes my way and get a gazillion PDUs. It's more strategic. You could still get a gazillion PDUs, but now you are definitely moving forward. Instead of like paddling in a circle, you're on a path of where you would like to go. Next slide. So one of the things, if you're like, okay, well, I don't know what even is there even a path for volunteer engagement? I'm glad that you asked. Alive created a career pathways for the professional volunteer engagement. We did a webinar on it at Points of Light. It was so packed that we had to redo it again virtually because we couldn't get enough people in the room. But it gives everything from the different types of careers there are in volunteer engagement, where you can shoot off depending on where you are in your journey. Like Court said, you could be beginning, or you could be 15 years in, and it talks about if you're going from a specialist or like an assistant to a coordinator to a specialist to a this to a that, like what in general competencies you should have, what you should be getting paid, um, all of these different things. It's a great reference. We have this tool actually on the Alive website. If you go under the resources and you click on it, and there's a whole spreadsheet. I think the link to the presentation, the live presentation was there, but if not, there's slides, there's all kinds of information to help you guide where you want to be. And remember, not everybody wants to be an executive director. Listen, I didn't want to be an executive director, so don't let me lie to you. I never had dreams of, oh, I want to be an executive director. That was just never a thing for me. That may not where you want to be. It may not be progression this way, but it could be growth. Maybe it's more skills. Maybe it's more you want to look for this particular role because it's going to help you expand these particular skills. It's whatever it is that you want. It's so important to understand what your why is and build from there. Next. So we're going to talk a little bit about like the next steps after you've assessed, and now you kind of have a plan. Moving forward, putting into the plan brings all of these together: educate, advocate, and elevate. So educate. There are so many different ways to educate yourself, and most of you probably are already aware of this, but I just wanted to kind of put it all together. So reading is a wonderful way, especially since Audible has audiobooks now. Okay. Read. It's a great way to learn new things. Watch webinars and vlogs. We're all fully aware of those. Listening to podcasts, which is there's all kinds. Better Impact did a really great listing of like the list of all the podcasts of volunteer manager professionals. It's a great listing. But you can always just do a great Google search of different podcasts and and look to see what there's on volunteer engagement. Also do it in like if you go into the like if you go to Apple or whatever that you listen to and do the search in there too, all kinds of stuff that will pop up and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that existed. Um, network. Alive has communities of practice, and basically what that is you get together with other volunteer and managers that are in your industry. I was in um, the arts industry. So if I would say to somebody in general, like, what is the call time for your volunteers? A lot of people may not know what I'm talking about, but when I'm talking to other volunteer managers in the theater, they know exactly what I'm talking about, and we can solve for things that are specific to our industry. Alive has, I think, like 14 or 15 different groups. And the great thing is if there's not one that's there, you can raise your hand to lead one and bring your fellow people in with you and find others to connect. It's one thing to connect with other volunteer engagement managers. That's like the banana split. The cherry on top is now the person in your industry who not only understands the language of volunteer engagement, but also in your particular industry. LinkedIn has a lot of different LinkedIn groups, and there's Facebook groups that you can connect with, that you can go and ask questions. I see them all the time. People like, well, does anybody have a good resource about this within the Facebook group? Bam. And like 30 people answer in like 2.3 seconds. So you do not have to be in a silo. You do not have to be in a silo unless you choose to be. Unless you choose to be, you don't, there's so many opportunities for you to connect in person with people and virtually. Because I literally wrote a blog post talk about how to network for networking for introverts like me. Because I had to do it. But anyway. So, because I know people always say, well, oh, it's easy for extroverts and that's something that they do. Yo, us introverts, we have to do it too. We just do it a little bit differently and we do it in a way that we feel is a little safer, but we still have to do it. It is still vital. It is still vital. And then getting different certifications like your CBA, CAVS, different things that are related to, and there's so many different other certifications that are out there. I just listed a couple, but educate yourself. Maybe once a month you're going to read something or listen to something or something, but try each month to have more knowledge about something than you did the month before. It's not about the volume of it. The important thing is that by December 31st, you know more about your profession and your involvement in what you want than you do today, which is why I'm glad we're starting in January because we have a whole year to figure it out, which also means you could watch like 30 podcasts one a day in December and still accomplish it. Hey, whatever works, however you want to get it done. Next. Um, so continuing on the education part. So all the ones before were all the different ways, right? There's podcasts, there's this, there's that. I want to challenge you to think about your education in several different ways. Number one, obviously, first and foremost, and I would say maybe this is like for those beginners who just started about the profession, right? Anything regarding volunteer engagement, volunteer strategy, volunteer management, etc., like that, like Googling those things to like getting started, those foundational things. But also think about things that are profession adjacent, very similar to what we're doing, but also it could be like shared skills or transferable skills. So now Maybe if you're looking for webinars, it's not all always volunteer engagement, but maybe you're broadening it out more community engagement or corporate social responsibility or CSR webinars, human resources webinars. Yes, it's not exactly the same, but they're still peopling, and there's a lot that we can learn from them. And, looking up what are the upcoming human resources recruitment things that are being done that maybe we don't ever really talk about. Data analysis, that not only data analysis in volunteer engagement, but in general, outside of it, general program management, training and development, all the things that we do, but looking at it from an outside lens and then taking and learning from that and bringing it in. So profession adjacent and then profession related. These are the things that we deal with day to day, daily on a daily basis as volunteer engagement professionals. And we all know that we are really good at a lot of things, but maybe not necessarily be an expert in one. So go and listen to a marketing seminar on somebody who does marketing every day. Sit in on a fundraising that somebody does that all the time. Here's that finance accounting thing again. Go and if you can tolerate it, because yeah, I know once they start talking about numbers, my eyes gloss over. I'm not gonna lie. But maybe it's like a finance 101. Maybe we don't need expert. And for me, I just need 101. But whatever that level is for you, business management, event planning, consulting, um, conflict resolution, right? So stepping outside of just our profession, but looking at all the skills that make this profession amazing and unique to who we are, and going outside of that and learning and then bringing it back in. Because number one, not only is that making you stronger, but now we are gleaning from those who do it all the time and bringing it into our profession. And as we are doing that, we are elevating our profession as well. My goal is that at the end of the day, if somebody says I'm a volunteer engagement professional, it garners the same respect as, oh, I'm a marketing professional. Cool. Or I'm a school teacher. Not I'm a volunteer engagement professional. Aw. You wouldn't if you had to sit with my volunteers for, not at a live. No, if you had to sit with my volunteers for like 2 hours and be like, woo, no, like there's a lot that goes into it. The personalities, there's no awe in it, right? It should be more like, oh yes, like the same vitality and respect that school teachers get when people say, because they understand the nuance of being a teacher. People don't quite yet understand that, which is why I'm so passionate and screaming it from the hills and trying to tell everybody about what it is that we do so that they understand that. But collectively, as we are learning individually, it is strengthening our profession. Okay, next. Sorry. Okay. Advocating not only for your volunteers, but for yourself. We are so great about fighting tooth and nail for our volunteers. I know I was. I was always talking about the volunteers. People got so tired of me that I was like, I'm going to keep saying it until you get tired of me, especially when I was at the Performing Arts Center. But it worked. It paid off. It took like 5 years, but eventually they started including me in meetings. They started inviting volunteers to um, organization wide, and not just staff, but if volunteers were involved, inviting them too. It took a while, but it started to track. So we know, but I challenge you to fight like that for you. Fight like that for you too, because guess what? If you don't do it for you, nobody's going to do it like you. You can believe, somebody can believe in you as much as they want, but if you don't believe in you, nobody's going to advocate for you like you will. They might start it for you, but you are in your body and in and where you are all the time. People can't advocate for you all the time, but you can advocate for you because you are always where you are. That makes sense. Okay. So upping your skills. Again, I know I mentioned it before, but I'm passionate about it. Getting like the CVA or a volunteer management certification or even certified fundraising executive or nonprofit like CNP, the certified nonprofit professional. Think about ways that you can. I know it sounds crazy because it's not about titles only, but titles get people's attention. Think of it as the way as the key to unlock a door. It can't necessarily, it can unlock the door for you. It may not necessarily keep you there, right? I've heard it said um, like your education and your talent can unlock the door, but your character and work ethic keep you there, that type of thing. But I cannot tell you the number of conversations by me just putting CVA behind it, how many people are like, huh, what is that? And I'm like, wow, let me tell you. So do you have to have a credential behind your name to be phenomenal? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is little by little, it helps to give credibility and any way that we, because I wasn't going to get my CVA. I wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to do it. I don't like tests and studying. I was like, once I graduated from college, that's it. I have no desire to go to school anymore. I'm good. So glad I did it because it elevated me exponentially in everything that I've done, right? So, and maybe it's not CVA for you, maybe it's something else. Even if I like to tell people, even if you're just going and you're learning and you don't end up with the letters behind your name, but that can't nobody can take the knowledge away from you, and that will show up when you show up in rooms and you start talking intelligently. People are going to recognize that, if that makes sense. Um, so, and this is where I'm talking about slowly implement what you've learned into your daily work and then report. So you learned something from CVA, you learned something from the marketing, from a marketing webinar, you learned something from an accounting webinar. Well, when you go back and you implement it into your program, and then at the end of the year, when your boss is like, well, what are your accomplishments? Well, these are the things that we did. Or people start noticing changes for the better, um, in the results of whatever your strategy regarding volunteers. They may not even necessarily know it 100%, but they're like, huh, look at that. Did you know? I'm like, oh, yes, because these are the things that I learned and I implemented, and you're experiencing the result of that. You don't always have to necessarily scream things like, this is what I'm going to do. If you just do it and people start to see results, you won't have to say anything. They're going to come ask you, what are you doing? What happened? Can I give an example? So there was, at one particular organization, they not alive, we couldn't get people to log their volunteer hours. And so I made a suggestion to the organization. I was like, well, try doing this. And they were like, yeah, well, whatever, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool, cool. But with the region that I was over, I was like, I'm just going to do it. We did it. We did it. We did it. It worked so well. It worked so well that the when the the reporting at the end of the month came out in the region that I was overseeing, the line was all the way over here and everybody else was over here. And then they were like, well, how are you getting? Oh, well, let me tell you. This is how we did it. So sometimes just showing up and doing it, um, it will open up those doors for people to see that these results are working, and that you can to see that the results are working, and continue to build credibility for what you're doing. I Okay, so share what you know. This is, for me, more designed for somebody who has been in the profession a little bit longer, right? You've learned a lot, and now you can give back. You can mentor somebody else coming up, like somebody who is brand new. As a matter of fact, like if you're on this call and you've been in the profession for 5 or 10 years, and somebody else has been here for like early, they've just started, drop it in the chat. Try to connect with each other. See if because most people who have been in this profession for a long time are willing to help people coming up. And those of you who are brand new, don't do it alone. Try to connect with somebody who's been here to bounce questions off of. Alive has a mentor program designed specifically for that. You can teach and train, become an adjunct professor. I think you have to, I don't think I qualify for that because that means I have to go back to school and get like a master's, and we already talked about that. But who knows? I'll never say never. Um, but evaluate, help, sit on an awards committee to help evaluate and bring recognition nationwide to what we're doing. Maybe become a consultant. Whatever it is, share. Sharing is caring. As you're learning and you're giving back, not only are you continuously to learn and educate yourself, but it's strengthening the profession. Next. All right. So one thing that people will always say is like, "Oh, but Nicole, I don't have time. I don't have time. I have all of these things." And and let me tell you, I understand because everybody is busy. Everybody is busy. Everybody is busy. Um, and we still have to make the time. We just, I mean, just because it's if you don't like it, it doesn't mean it's not true, right? In order for this to happen, we have to figure out the time. If now is not the time, you have to be okay with that and recognize now is not the time. But us not making time is non-negotiable, if that makes sense. If we are going to grow and invest in ourselves, we have to make the time. Um, Time is of the essence. It is fleeting. We're not promised tomorrow. So what are we doing with where we are today? We don't know what tomorrow will bring in terms of opportunities for access, for opportunities and this isn't to be like a gloom and doom, like, but it's just, I just want to temper it because we always think, and I know I'm like generalizing, but often we think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, what if tomorrow you have a completely different job? I know one of the challenges that I had because it was like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then I didn't have a job and I had a lot of time. But then I got a new job and I really don't have time because the learning curve changed from when I had a steady job and I had extra time. So just be thinking about that. Can you go to the next slide? Um, it's not easy, but it will be worth it. And I love this picture because he's carving and etching, and that is what we have to do. We have to carve time out for us because we deserve it. And if we don't, the only people we are hurting and holding back is ourselves. Next slide. So here are just some suggestions. This is not going to work for everybody, but at the very least, I want this for you for it to ignite creative thinking, right? Block time off on your calendar. There's days I literally have on my I block the whole day off. There's no meetings, and I literally have a block on my calendar that says professional development. I stop what I'm doing. Well, I do mine early in the morning because I'm a morning person. Professional development. Either I am reading something, watching something, learning something, whatever it is, I have blocked it out. People can't put that meeting on the calendar. I have to schedule around it and I fight for it and I hold on to it and I do not give it up unless I absolutely have to, like for a mission critical meeting. Um, if you are able, wake up earlier and get some time in before the rest of the family gets up and does something, or stay up later after you get everybody to bed. If you are working out or if you're going for a walk, read, listen, or watch, like double up. Like you can be listening to a podcast while you're going for your walk. Think about like if you're how much TV are you watching when you get home, right? Like if you're watching 3 hours, maybe only do 2 hours and then set aside 1 hour of that for you. Just I'm just throwing ideas out there, whatever works for you, but you have to figure it out. You have to curate it. And even if it starts off with 15 minutes, 15 minutes. Start with that, but do something, just anything that will help get you a little bit further and a little bit more. It's not about how fast you can do it, it's that you do it. Okay, next. Yes, adopt a solution mindset. Okay, next. I get so passionate, I'm sorry. So I say all of this to say that as we are doing, just think about it. I don't know how many of us there are on this call, but if all of us for 1 year took 15 minutes to learn something new and implement it and it started working and then people noticed it on an individual level, Imagine what that would do for the entire profession. Your growth as you are growing individually by byproduct, the profession is growing, and that is what we need to gain, to help to gain us that credibility, to help to gain us the lack of better words, if you know, the respect that I want people to have for us. Not like you gonna respect me, RESPECT. I'm not talking about that. But I'm just talking about like a not being dismissive of the profession in general, just making that aware. So as we grow individually, and if you click one more time, we will grow exponentially in the strength in tree trunks and roots that are deepened and then goes up, and the leaves and the branches, not only it's providing nourishment, it's providing shade, it's providing fruit. And I've heard it said trees grow fruit for other people to eat. So as we are growing, we are helping each other. And that is what community is about. And that is why I say over and over, we are not alone. Grow individually, grow together, because when we come together, we are powerful. We are powerful and a force to be messed with. Maybe that wasn't the best way to say it, but but we're a force. So I ask you, I'm sorry, this is the last thing really quick. But so I ask you, what is holding you back? Is it time? Is it resources? Is it whatever it is? Figure out what it is and then try to troubleshoot solutions. Chat with somebody and be like, hey, this is what I think is holding me back. Help me to find solutions. And maybe the solution is not right now, but in 3 months, but at least you're intentional about it and you're just not letting it go. Okay, now I'm officially done.
Well, feel free, everybody, to drop some of your questions in the chat. We can also use the chat feature through Zoom if you would like. So I'll give you all a couple of moments.
Saludos, Vivian.
That was a really wonderful presentation, Nicole. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's see if we have any questions coming through the chat here.
Oh, I see. Headed to Summit. Yes. See you
Oh,
there.
nice. Oh, yes. Nicole, do you want to share a little bit more about the summit in Sacramento?
Yes, I would love to talk about a networking opportunity. We are so
Yes.
excited because the summit is going to be happening March 18th through 20th in Sacramento, California. Um, and we're so excited about it because it's finally a volunteer engagement conference. Well, I mean, there's also Texas Volunteer Marriage, so I don't want to say it's like the only one. But like having this curated um, uh, summit curated by volunteer engagement professionals for volunteer engagement professionals. It's our first one. We are super excited. And the reason why we're so excited is because since we're a national organization, we're often spread out and all of the COPs, people connect all over the US all the time, but we finally get to meet in person and have those in-person connections and learn from each other in person, and like being able to have those impromptu conversations. It's going to be amazing. All of the information is on the website. Um, I believe today is the last day for early bird registration. I believe the 15th is the last day for early bird registration. So if you're thinking about registering, today would be the time to do it. But if you are going to be there, please, I would love to meet you. That's if I'm not hiding out in the back in the corner of the book. But also and we're going to be, if you're going to be there and want to help bring it to life, we're going to have volunteer opportunities as well. So just stay tuned for all those things. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. If you don't follow us, if you don't follow Alive on LinkedIn, please do so, because we've already announced it, but those posts, and they're going to be highlighting, it's going to be phenomenal. We're going to be in person in Sacramento in March. So I hope to see you there.
Yeah, it sounds super exciting. Let's see. Lena is asking, does anyone have a good resource for free training that I can provide to my volunteers?
So, Lena, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who will have that. I know also, it depends on like the level of the free training and what you're wanting out of it, but Alive has a slew of resources. If you go to volunteeralive.org and you click on resources, and it just from everything that you need, because for trainings for volunteers, it's a very wide topic. So you can dial down into anything in particular because it's like that we will. I know I would need more specifics to be able to try to help you out, but I know we have a resource page full of things. Plus, other people I'm sure have other like trainings and things that they can drop in the chat as well.
Yeah, and we'll also, when we send out our recording email with all of the slides in this presentation, we're also going to send out a bunch of training resources as well. So keep an eye out for that. Um, okay, well, it seems as though we don't have any more questions in the chat. So I just wanted to thank you so much for coming here today, Nicole, and
Of
talking
course.
about professional development with all of us. I know I certainly have learned a lot. And thank you all to everyone joining us today for growing your volunteer engagement career, why professional development and networking are vital. Again, we are Get Connected by Galaxy Digital, and we um, provide this space for volunteer leaders to come together, share ideas, and just learn from one another. So thank you for coming. And please keep your eyes out for that follow-up email that I mentioned to you all. It's going to contain the resources, the slides, the chat box, everything. And also keep an eye out for our upcoming February webinar with Dante Curtis, owner of Catch Your Dream Consulting. We're going to be talking about the power and practice of hope in volunteer management. So keep an eye on your inbox for that as well. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Nicole.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye.